Dr. V. Balakrishnan, Professor and Head, Management Wing. Topic Communication for Global Managers. Today, I'm going to deliver a lecture on communication for global managers. It's a very fascinating subject. Understanding the fundamentals of communication becomes a basic necessity in these days of globalization. Multinational corporations and transnational corporations employ people from different countries with a different cultural background, different social background, and that diversity make the communication among these people a crucial issue. I'm going to touch upon the topic today. Communication becomes very large organizations. In these organizations, different types of communication takes place among the people for understanding what has to be done and how it should be done, and for various other purposes. We can broadly classify the communication into written communication, oral communication, and non-verbal communication. Written communication becomes an essential ingredient in the communication process because that becomes a permanent record, and in case of dispute it can be presented. Written communication must be carefully and thoughtfully prepared. Written communication can be communicated in the form of letters, memo, agenda, and in various other forms, and especially in electronic media it can be presented in the form of websites or email, and we also communicate through fax. And in the print and the electronic media, the written communication becomes an essential part of communication. In written communication, we have to follow 3 steps in preparing the written communication. First, crystallize the idea what we are going to present in the written communication, and for various purposes we communicate in the written form, and we must understand what is the purpose for which we are going to give the written communication. For example, a person may apply for a job, or he may make a request, or he may make an inquiry, or for various other purposes we communicate. Based on the purpose, we decide what is the right form of communication and in which media we are going to transmit it. And while understanding the basics of communication, we know that there is a sender and another receiver, and the communication will pass through the media. And at the end of the communication, in case if we receive the feedback from the receiver, we can able to assess whether we have communicated properly. And knowing that basic form of communication will make us to prepare the written communication in the right track. In written communication, as I said, first we must crystallize the idea and the purpose of communication, and then we can make a draft. And in the draft, necessary changes can be made. That is, we should not use the foreign words, or we should not communicate by using the bombastic words, or as far as possible we make it as simple so that anybody can understand what we are communicating it. And it can either be an order or command, or maybe a request or an appeal, and based on the type of communication, the tone of communication may change. And then after making necessary changes, we can make the final draft. And after making the final draft, we will communicate. That stage is called completing the written communication process. And after communicating it, when we receive the feedback, that is, in case if you place an order, if they accept it, or if you ask them to expedite it, if they accept our request for sending the materials in time, that is, we feel that is we have communicated in the right form. And then oral communication. In oral communication, that is, we also follow the basic 3 steps. In the first step, as I said, in the case of written communication, that is the crystallized idea, and in a very short span of time we communicate to the people, and In written and oral communication, we have the facility of clarifying the doubts of the receiver so that our intended purpose may be achieved, so that we can able to communicate what we really intend to communicate. When the receiver show his certain non-verbal communication cues in the face, we can able to study, that is how the man receives the communication which we are going to give, which we are giving, and we can change the the idea, or we may add some more dimensions to it. In written communication, that is, we keep it as a record. In oral communication, an essential ingredient is listening process. Listening is a very typical process where we understand the views of the receiver. Listening, as you know, is different from hearing. In hearing, we only hear. In listening, we understand the mindset of the people. In listening, there are various types of listening. Either it may be a active listening, or it may be a passive listening, or it may be a prejudicial listening, or it may be there are different forms of listening. If it is an active listening, we must put ourselves in the shoes of the sender, and we must really study the spirit of communication of the receiver, and so that we can act accordingly. And once we can able to receive it in the proper form, that is, we can either, it can be an empathetic view or it can be a sympathetic view. That depends upon the message the sender gives to us. Next comes the non-verbal communication. In non-verbal communication, there are different processes which we are going to discuss it on the later part of this lecture. It may be either a handshake or gesture or facial expression or the movement of the body or movement of the hands or legs and movement of the eyeballs, and that also communicate. That is very essential ingredient of communication. Many overlook it during the process. And next important thing we need to study in communication is the barriers in communication. What are the barriers? The barriers are the status barrier, or it may be a distraction due to noise, or it may be due to cultural diversity, or due to various other reasons. Let us study what's the real barrier. In case if the person could not communicate out of fear, that is, we can able to put them at ease and then ask them to speak, so that we can understand what the sender like to speak to us. And in another situation, that is, in case if we are going to talk to a person in a different country where the accent is different, the understanding capability of the people may be different. So in those cases, we can able to understand in their language or in that part of the country, that is how they communicate. And once we know oral communication, written communication and non-verbal communication are one form of classification. Another form of classification is formal communication and informal communication. Formal communication takes place in organizational and institutional setting. Informal communication takes place among the individuals in the home setting or in union environments or in different informal gatherings like clubs and other social gatherings. Even in organizations, informal that is message communicated through the grapevine is an important form of feedback. In organizational communication, we have three types of communication. One is vertical communication, another is horizontal communication, another is lateral communication, diagonal communication. In the vertical communication, the information flow from the top level to the bottom level. Mostly it is given in the form of direction, instructions or command or orders. That is mostly about the policy issues, about the idea for starting a new product or for withdrawing the product from the market or for offering certain facilities for the employees. or for providing additional service facilities for the consumers may be communicated to the people. About the ideas of the management, the communication flows down the line. As you know very well, according to Greikunas formula, if too many levels are there, the communication that will reach the bottom level may be interpreted in a different way. So as far as possible, in case if minimum number of levels are there in the formal communication process, the message will reach the people in the right perspective. So in formal communication, we issue orders, circulars, memo, that is, we may conduct formal inquiries about the disciplinary process of the people, or we may communicate certain dimensions about the financial position of the organization, or about the that is the achievements in the marketing field, or about the awards which we receive, and many things may be communicated from the top level to the bottom level. And when it reach the strategic business units or at the branch level, that is, they need to communicate it in the same form. In case if they add something or delete something, the real spirit of communication may be lost in the process. So we have to carefully structure the formal communication, and the words used must be as far as possible very simple and easy to understand. And in the informal communication, that is spontaneous, and the words which come from the inner heart may be spoken directly, and we may not be able to structure it, and that may be a true form of communication, and no more coloring or additions may not be there. Informal communication is essential, and we cannot ignore it. And we can also classify that these two communications in a different way too, and that is called dyadic communication. That is a conversation between two people, or communication from one person to another person, where the other person may be a passive listener. And in dyadic communication, communication takes place between two people, and one person communicate to the other person, and in case both the people communicate, we call it as a conversation. And then the communication may take place among a group of people, and that's called small group communication. And then large group communication, a large other one is the very large group communication. The small group communication, it may either be a brainstorming session for creating ideas, or for group discussion for solving a problem, or for exchanging the views, or for disseminating ideas. It may take place among a small group, and in large organizations we find every day the top managers meet for solving the problems. And in the selection process, the management institutes and the organizations where the intellectual capability is to be assessed, they conduct group discussion for selecting the person who possesses leadership capabilities. Next one is the large group communication. Large group communication takes place in the organizations for various other purposes. For example, in case if a new product is developed, a demonstration followed by the presentation takes place. In the presentation, we inform the potential buyer about the utility value of the product, the safety features of the product, the maintenance problem of the new equipment or a gadget. And that is, we may present the comparative view of our product with the rest of the products that are available in the market, and the price comparison can also be made, and various other information about the product and its technological advantage may be communicated to the people. In a similar way, presentation may be made in different situations. For example, if the salesperson sells an idea about a concept selling, take for example a case like the holiday resorts. It's a new concept. When we sell ownership of a land or a building for a particular week, it is new to the people, and that kind of concept selling can also be take place in communication. That is, to large audience they communicate. In large audience there are different situations. The group may either be a heterogeneous group or a homogeneous group. In a classroom it may be a group, all the people may be pursuing a specific course. In a Rotary Club meeting it may be a different kind of audience, and they are from different walks of life, and to that audience, that is, we have to frame our presentation in a specific way so that we can able to captivate the audience and arrest their attention and make them to listen what we say. And talking to a heterogeneous audience is a difficult task than to a homogeneous audience, and then to a very large group audience. In the very large group gathering, like annual general meeting or an extraordinary general meeting, or the gathering of the scientists, or in a seminar or in a symposium or in a conference, people may gather there where large number of people are there. When we communicate, the presentation must be made in such a way the audience must listen to it, and they must involve themselves in that process. For that purpose, the presenter must frame the presentation in such a way that he must start with what he is going to say, and then say at the end he has to say what he has already said. So in that order, in that sequence, if he frame the lecture, it can be made. And after completing the lecture, in case if some time is given for interaction, the audience can able to clarify their doubts, or supplement, or add, or make some contribution to the idea which the presenter has presented. And in such cases, there may be a chairman for that forum who may be controlling the timings and coordinate the ideological configuration of different people who is presenting the paper in that seminar or conference. We gather in such forums where communication takes place among large audience and a particular individual. The eye movement is very important. He should not look at a particular individual. The eyeball must roll and to see the entire audience. Before going to that forum, he must make a preparation like audience analysis. That is, what is their educational background, what is their social background, what is their psychological background, and what type of information in which these people may be interested. So we can, that is, go to that forum well prepared before making the presentation. At the end of the presentation, that is, we must thank the audience and then leave the forum. So we can differentiate the dyadic communication, small group communication, large group communication, well large group communication. In all these communication processes, the preparation is quite different, and the basic idea in preparing the materials for such kind of presentation is, first of all, we can able to arouse the attention of the people, we can able to arouse the interest of the people so that they can able to listen what we say. Then, that is, we will move to the other areas of communication where we are going to discuss in depth about the written communication, oral communication and non-verbal communication. In written communication, that is, we have to see the purpose of communication. In written communication, that is, it may be a communication in an organization. In organizational setting, that is, we communicate for all purposes. Every information must be communicated from the top to the bottom level, and it must go through different levels, and all that we communicate ought to be recorded. And written communication may be in a structured form, or it may be in a pre-printed format. It may be supplied to others so that their attention may be drawn to the filled up information instead of the format of the information. In written communication, that is, how long we need to preserve, and that is yet another that is the question that arises. And in certain cases, we communicate to our customers. For example, we may give a warranty or a guarantee for our product, how long the warranty will be there, and what are the components that are covered by warranty, and in case failure of the product occurs, what the customers need to do, whether the transportation and the packaging charges will be borne by the company or by the individual, and various other allied information must be communicated to the customers. And in these days of customer delight, that is, we have moved from customer satisfaction to customer delight stage. In the customer delight stage, that right type of communication must occur between the seller and the buyer. And when we communicate in the written form, that is, for example, we may get the buyer may generate the request, and then it is converted in the form of an order, and when we receive the order is processed, and we may give instruction to the production department and for preparing the materials, and we may give instructions for delivering the product in time, and various other information, that is the conditions imposed by the buyer, is to be communicated to the manufacturing unit. And we also issue a written communication to the materials department so that they can able to supply the requisite materials. And we may also issue instruction to the quality control department so that they can able to check the material on receipt of the materials. So that the written communication takes place between the various departments of an organization, and in all that a similar message may be communicated, and that message may be the message which we have received along with the order. And then written communication takes place in the organizations, in a government department. In a government department, they may issue orders, that may translate the government policy into the utility value, or they may communicate in the form of an order or assignment, or registration of a document, or registration of a request, or an appeal, or various other information maybe that is recorded. And then that is we communicate certain information orally. As I said earlier, oral communication is a very broad spectrum of communication in which the communicator may communicate either directly to the audience, or through the telephones or mobiles we may communicate, or through the computers, that is we may communicate by using a web camera, we may communicate to the people so that they can hear the voice of their boss, that can motivate them and enrich their activity. And in non-verbal communication, that is, we have different forms of communication. As I said, first one is the facial expression, the changes in the face, and in case if wrinkles appear in the forehead, or the eyeballs become reddish, the people can able to understand the anger or fear or submissiveness or various other feelings of an individual. And so face is a very facial expression is an important form of communication. Then eyeball movement, in case if you evince interest, if you show enthusiasm, that is a eyeballs movement may be watched by the receiver, and he may understand whether you receive, whether you evince interest or not. And then the nodding the head, it may be a positive nod or a negative nod of the head. Or then body movement, in case if you are exhalated, if you express the happiness, the whole body may be, that is the movement may be watched by that's called a body sport, and that may be watched by the listener. Or the movement of the hands, the way in which you move your hands, and that can either transmit the happiness or anger or other feelings of the people. And then movement of the legs, and the posture in which you sit in the chair or in other places, that can also communicate to the people. In case if you sit in a very lethargic posture, communicator, the person who communicates or the person who gives a message may interpret it in wrong way, that he may think that a serious matter may not be listened properly. For example, he may communicate something about the illness of a member in his family, and for that he may appear before the manager and make an appeal for medical facilities. At that time the people did not sit in the right posture, and that may communicate negative pulses. Then comes the reports. It can either be oral report or it may be a written report. In the oral reports, we may make a market study and give a report, and why there is slump in the markets, or why our competitor acquires more and more share in the markets, or that is the people may return large number of rejects, and that is we have to make a study why such changes are taking place in the market, either due to the updated technology of the competitor, or due to manufacturing fault, or price variation, or by the strategy adopted by the competitor. Let us find it out by probing into the market by using a questionnaire, or it may be oral reports. That is, when you assign the task to a person, after completing it he may come and reports, "Sir, I have completed the task." So it is your duty to assign another duty to that person, so that that person may not keep idle, and we can use the intellectual resource in an effective way. And report may be for various reasons, and the length of the report depends upon to whom it is sent. For the top management, the report may be short and it may be crisp. In most of the cases, it may be a one-page report. In the case of study where an in-depth analysis is to be made, or for restructuring or revamping the organization, in case if you make a study, it may be an in-depth and in a large volume report, and that may be scrutinized by a committee and they may take a decision. And in communication, information we need to communicate maybe like a communication in teams, communication in organizational settings, communication in informal gatherings. So that is a lot of information we need to discuss, and we may discuss that in the further lectures. And now I like to conclude it by saying that communication for global managers is an essential element. In communication, that is, we have to take into consideration the intercultural dimensions and the diversity aspect. Thank you very much.